wild animal who's eating and drinking and sleeping around, and that's his whole life. What was gained from this? The essential mitzvah of Peru Urevu, be fruitful and multiply, is to make souls for Hashem, to bring a person to know God through the fundamental way of the world, the way of the Torah, derech eretz, decency, the observance of the commandments in the most basic way. It is when we create children who have the tzura of Ben Adam, that is when we are fulfilling the mitzvah of piriyah v'reviyah, of being fruitful and multiply. Now, please listen carefully to what I'm going to say. I told you before that I have this basic belief that when you want something to happen, you have to follow your basic Judaism to make it happen. And basic Judaism is tzedakah. If you're in need of parnasah, the way to initiate the parnasah is that you give tzedakah. Because when you give to somebody else, you open a gateway for God to give to you. Your purpose is to find a partner. Your purpose is to find somebody with whom you share your life. Yes, we are desperately lonely. We desperately need somebody, but even then, know that even with your partner, you are alone. We get buried in separate graves. We don't get buried in an embrace. And we have to deal with everything we have to deal with partners, without partners. The essential goal is to make souls. And Rav Nachman, having said this, he then goes into a whole discussion about what today is called Torah outreach. How every one of us has a responsibility to make souls, to make children by talking to others. And if there is one mitzvah that will initiate the having of children for which we want to get married, it is by participating, each person on his or her level, in the outreach of the Torah that comes from the warmth with which we come back to our Torah practice, the warmth that we recreate every Shabbos, every visit to the synagogue, every Jewish event, the outreach that we are doing by participating in learning, be it with one study partner, be it with a group, be it in an organized class. When we are involved, and I'm talking at the most basic level, I'm not talking about pilpul and Talmud, I'm not talking about very subtle halachot, I'm talking about our generation needs to learn a new basic outreach, and we Jews need to do this to be proud of our God who gave us our Torah as it is written in the 5 books of Moses, even without the sophistication of Talmud and Shulchan Aruch, the basic Torah of Shabbat, of faith in God, belief in God, decency, you don't steal, you don't kill, and you propagate this message to others, to the ones that are around you, to your friends, to those you work with, that we get up today and we stand up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we stand up as God's witnesses. And if we are willing to do this, we are opening the channels. We are opening the channels for God to send us the partner with whom we can create the home and nurture these souls. And my basic belief is that when we go ahead and we do our mitzvah, God will answer in His way at exactly the right time. This is no promise of mine, but it is the promise of the Torah. And I would like to conclude what I have to say before I invite questions and discussion, to read to you from Isaiah. This is the Haftarah that we read in the synagogue on a Tanit Sibur, when there is a public fast. And here I'd like to read you the very beautiful words of Yeshayahu. Happy is the man who will do this. Happy is the man who will hold by this, that he observes the Shabbos and he does not desecrate the Shabbos. And he guards his hand from doing anything evil. And let not the Ben Nechar, the non-Jew, who has attached himself to Hashem, say, God has surely separated me from his people. And let not the sarisim, the saris is somebody who's been castrated, who cannot have children, that is a saris. Let not the sarisim say, I am dry wood. For thus says Hashem to the childless, to the sarisim who cannot have children, if they will guard my Sabbaths, and they will choose that which I have shown favor with, and they hold firm to my covenant, I will give to them in my place and in my fortification Yad Vashem, a place and a name that is better than sons and daughters. An eternal name I will give to that person, and he will never be cut off. And those strangers who are attached to Hashem, to minister to him, and to love the name of Hashem, and to be servants of his, everyone who observes the Shabbos and does not desecrate it, and who holds firm to my covenant, I will bring them to my holy mountain, and I will rejoice them in my house of prayer, and their offerings and their sacrifices will find favor on my altar. For my house is the house of prayer for all of the nations. So says Hashem, who gathers in the scattered of Israel. I will yet gather in the gathered ones. Here is God's promise that it makes no difference if you do have children, you don't have children. My teacher of Torah, Dr. William Stern from London, had no children. He was a student of the Lubavitcher Rebbe who had thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of children because of all of the shamas that the Rebbe made. Countless children that he and his wife, the Rebbetzin, had without having any physical children. They had the whole of Klal Yisrael with all their children. And when you and me take part in this work of shining the light of the simple Yahadut, the simple Shabbat, the simple kindness, the simple tzedakah, the chesed, the goodness that our faith is based upon, we have a place in his courtyards, in this world, and without a shadow of a doubt in the world of truth. And with that, I would like to conclude and to invite anybody who would like to comment or discuss to do so.
My dilemma is I feel like I have a bit of a balance in terms of wanting to very much be involved in somebody, and also very much liking my single life. And it's extremely distressing. In the current moment, I'm actually out of a relationship over a year. But at the current moment, that whole notion of how much I really want to be involved with somebody, and the fear of it, how much I really want to be like myself. It's very distressing. I wonder if you can speak to that. What's coming to my mind is just an acceptance of that. That's the way it is right now. This may be something that others might be.
I mentioned earlier that I value Rabbi Nachman's recommendation of Hitbodedut, in other words, seclusion. And I found that to be a very helpful contribution to married life, to have my own space that my wife accepts that I need and is quite willing to give me.